All right, guys, so we're live. Welcome to webinar 7 for participants on the February challenge. And this is also the third webinar for participants on the April challenge. So what we're doing is we're trialing where we have challenges overlapping. We could increase the connection. So we have people from April challenge. We have Sarah on. We have people from Feb. We have Bonnie. We have Yvonne. We have Neil. We have Emma. And few more may be joining, and you might be listening in on the recording if you're not here live with us, in which case we invite you to be ready with what we recommended before this webinar started, which is have some cheeky snack by your side or any snack, and have a notepad because we're going to be doing some exercises that are very experiential in nature. Okay, so we're going to kick off as always to set context with this beautiful quote by Heston Blumenthal. We just crossed his restaurant the other day, and one of our fit bankers, Rebecca, is out there on a date today at his Fat Duck restaurant. And this quote of his, which is, to me, food is as much about the moment, the occasion, the location, and the company as it is about the taste. So we're going to explain that is and how we form relationships with food, and we call them taste. So let's kick off. So first, I'd love somebody to generate, and you could be from either of the challenges, so feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself to generate the objective. And wherever you are, please do share what's showing up for you. For the Feb challenge, we want to break over Easter. We had a week off. So I'd love to hear from any of the challenges, either April or Feb. Who'd like to read this out and share what's showing up for you inside of this objective? Be sure to unmute yourself.
Okay, Ronnie, I'll go.
Go for it, Bonnie.
Does anybody else from the February challenge want to go? I just feel like I always.
I haven't seen a hand raised.
No.
Well, it's only me and Yvonne. Yvonne's done it before, but
okay.
I've had a rusty couple of weeks, so
That's cool. You're not on your own, Neil, by the way.
I'm happy for you to do it, Bonnie.
Okay, cool. Okay, so objective is at the end of this challenge, I will be someone who, number one, has altered my own relationship with food, exercise, and myself. Number two, understands the real role of my mind, body, and intellect. And number three, leverages social media to inspire my community and my world to live a healthy lifestyle to transform lives. I think what I experienced over Easter was actually better than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried about hot cross buns and Easter eggs, if I'm honest. But actually, I think 2 days before I was just thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get through, Good Friday? I won't be able to have any hot cross buns. And actually, Good Friday came along, and the thought never even crossed my mind. And with regards to the Easter eggs, it was really good because I actually bought my team loads of chocolate as treats for incentives to get their sales in and everything. And I didn't even, it didn't even entice me. I didn't even think that I was missing out. So that was really refreshing. Where I found that my weak point is actually when I have a gathering of friends or family. My favorite thing in the world is to have dinner, sit around the table, and catch up. And that's when it's a case of a glass of wine or a little bit of cake. And this Easter, whilst I didn't have any chocolate, and I actually was really proud of myself because I didn't have any alcohol, because I was offered Prosecco. Wow. And wine. I didn't have any, but I did have a piece of cake. And what I noticed was that I don't want to acquire a guilt around having food, because I've never ever felt guilty about eating anything before. And so I noticed that there was this slight inkling of I shouldn't really have that, and it was because I'm on the challenge.
Yeah.
Whereas before in my life, I've always eaten. I've always had a good relationship with food, and I've eaten guilt-free. Yeah. And I think that has been a positive aspect of my relationship with food, because I don't really go overboard with anything. It's always within moderation. And so if I'm honest, Ronnie, I'm wary of that because I don't want to get to a point where I start to feel guilty if I'm going to have something, because I think that's the wrong energy around food for myself, speaking for myself. So I did have something. What I did notice was that there was that pre-thought, but then I let that go, and I did have a small piece rather than a full slice. So it wasn't a full slice; it was just like a taster piece. So that was something that I noticed that was really interesting about myself. And what I have noticed this past week is that with this wanting something sweet after dinner, if I sustain about 10 to 15 minutes after that goes, so that I don't actually want that sweet thing anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was something that I noticed about myself this last week.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant that you're noticing that. It's a brilliant share, and it's a very real thing that shows up for us. And it's one of the things that we say. So we, you guys are all at different parts of your challenges, but there's a thing that we say at the start, which is what's going to work and what doesn't work. The last thing you want to do is to start building up what's called a make wrong pile of poo, which is whenever you feel guilty of that, it's totally the wrong thing. Because when you feel guilty that you are having it, or suppressing yourself for not having it, or that you might trip, what you do is you are actually creating worry, concern, and a relationship with that thing, which is suppressing it, is making you stressed. So it actually has a counter effect. And when you've done something wrong and you feel guilty about it, it actually releases cortisol in your body. And cortisol isn't like a flush hormone that it suddenly makes your face red that you will see it. It's just happening in the background, and that works against fat burning and fat loss. And if anything, it will put our hormones out of imbalance, and it could trigger the sugar spiral. So we say that if you, the first thing you want to do is if you trip, don't make yourself wrong for tripping. And the second thing that's very important, the rule number 2, is don't use the rule number 1, which is don't make yourself wrong if you trip, as an excuse to trip. So those are the 2 important rules around that, which is which shouldn't be used as an excuse, but when you do it, don't make yourself wrong. Pick up from where you are, dust your knees, your challenge starts fresh then. And the whole reason we say have a treat day every 5 weeks is that 5 weeks is that carrot that you're dangling for you to work towards. So you feel like, oh, I'm 3 weeks away. So even if it's Easter, you actually say, nope, I've got my favorite restaurant booked for 2 weeks away from now. I'm not tripping now. And the reason we do that is we want participants, those that are interested in, really speeding up fat loss, is going into ketosis. And we spoke about ketosis, and ketosis is where we start shifting our energy sourcing from carb or glycogen, which is carb stores under our skin, to fat reserves. And you only tap that once you deprived your body of carbs or building that. Now, we don't go fully depriving. We do have low GI carbs. Remember, 40% of macros are carbs, but the carbs that we're recommending will fuel your body. They won't significantly go and convert into fat or storage, right? So going into ketosis, you will experience a level of energy you've never experienced before. If you look at Sunil, Kumar, and Jag, who finished their Jan challenge, they were 2 of the people. There's a webinar where we invite you to choose to take that on. And if you choose to take it on, you can just see what they caused. I mean, Jag set off to lose 5 kilos and she lost 12.4, 240% of what she said. So, anything is possible. And last thing you want to do is make yourself wrong. And the other thing is 90 days is 13 weeks of this habit. So when you think just this once, let me have a glass of Prosecco, I want you to listen and hear my voice inside you without feeling guilty, saying just this once for 90 days of your life, just this once. Honor your body and treat it differently. After you've done one program, if it's not made a paradigm shift for you, you have an opportunity to encore, because we really want this to be lifestyle. Emma is like 4 challenges in. We have another lady who's 6 challenges in. I've been doing this ongoingly. I did first 3 challenges back to back, like formally participating as well. And by now, there are foods that I won't go towards. I don't even detest them. but I can let them sit in front of me without reaching out for them. So it does shift, and our muscle just gets built, and we need to just keep building that muscle like every other muscle in our body. All right, excellent. Need to very quickly move on. So in webinar 6, we spoke about the 7 steps of defining David, small tweaks for big changes, and the 5 supplements that we should all know of for muscle gains. There's a universe of supplements, and everyone's trying to force everything and make something new and breakthrough and rocket sciencey and make it sound sexy. But there's some very basic supplements that we should be having, and we cover that in Web 6. And if you're on the Feb challenge, we will cover that when we get there. And for the Feb challenge, last week we just looked at how do we create a routine of new healthy habits. How do we reintroduce? Because we make our habits, and then our habits make us. There's also an invite to watch the movie Fed Up. I hope you've watched it. I'm going to, I think we'll ask you on campus whether you have, because I'm mindful of time of today's exercise. But this movie, if especially people that are starting families, that have families that they care for, their elders as well, if you don't watch this movie, you miss out on a massive favor you could be doing yourself to shift conversations with family. It's powerful, and if I were to make a movie, I would have made a movie like this. And when we do, we will make it similar to this or better. But it's amazing. I invite you to really, really watch it. Get connected, guys, to the wider group. We for entirely our cause. We haven't grown. The April challenge wasn't as large as we anticipated, and the May will be larger. But we invite you to get connected to the wider group, to do an intro video, introduce yourself. If you're anchoring, reintroduce yourself. Okay, so webinar 7 objectives, and I'm going to say this, and we'll keep saying this. Don't compare to your participants on your challenge. You take on your challenge. Like Bonnie, I think you've been webinar after webinar you've been on, and the results will speak for themselves at the end. You know, Jag is the one who caused phenomenal results, and she was there for 9 or if not 8 of the webinars, and really, really open mind, just taking it on. And you guys, this is an investment you've made of your time more than money. So, you know, really, really juice me. Ask the questions for, you know, whatever you can get from me. I'm here for you guys for 90 days and beyond anyway. So today, what are we going to look at? We're going to really understand how we form relationships with things. We're going to look at 2 things that play a role, and they limit us, or they get in the way, because we're so conditioned around this word that we call taste. And then there's this other one when we're exercising, which is an automated system our body has to cut off or stop us from going beyond a certain point. And that's called pain. But now, if we understand how these 2 relationships were formed, taste and pain, if we understand what caused these relationships, we have mastery over them, we can control them, we can rewrite them, we can redesign them. So we're going to find out today, first, distinguishing how we form these relationships. So if something sticks out to you today, feel free to share it, take notes, and hashtag FITBANKER. Life transforming, so it shows up in our news feed. So let's start off with a question, and if you could all unmute yourselves, or if you could all type under questions, and I will read it. So this is meant to be very interactive. Ideally, we meant to use an app called Blue Jeans, but we had a breakdown in recording last time and screen sharing, so I'm using GoToWebinar. So what is your favorite tasting food? So if we start with Bonnie, what's yours?
I love apple crumble and custard.
Okay, yeah. Have you brought that with you by any chance today?
No.
Okay.
No, I've got Toblerone.
Okay.
Good choice.
Emma, what's yours?
Oh God, there's so many.
Name one.
Okay. Okay. Cheese. I love cheese.
Okay. Neil and Yvonne?
Pizza!
Oh, wow.
I think that's how we've been together 20 years. I think it's been the pizza.
Amazing. We must be family from a past life, guys. I was so conditioned as a kid watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, to Cousins in America, to, you know, when we were kids growing up in Africa in '83, we'd all moved to the US. And then pizza had just become this new sexy thing. And when we moved back to Africa, every family had wanted to show how they made pizza and their style. and we were so conditioned that pizza is like the favorite food. Amazing. Sarah?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So let's look at how we formed this relationship with taste and what we call these favorite tasting foods. So have you all got your snacks by your side?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to start off working with somebody who'd like to volunteer for this one. This is the one you want to rush to volunteer. You don't want to wait for others.
Really? You're gonna go? Go on, Neil.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, so let's start. So each of you will also get an opportunity to share. So let's have a look at this. Okay, so first let's look at what is taste, right? Taste as defined by the English dictionary. Remember when we looked at webinar 1, we start off by defining everything about the world that we're born into. And this is what the definition of taste is. The sensation of flavor perceived in the mouth and throat on contact with a substance. The wine had a fruity taste, or the Prosecco, as Bonnie said, looked amazing. As Emma says, a blue cheese with a distinctive sharp taste. Or it also means a person's liking for particular flavors. That apple crumble pie or the pudding is too sweet for my taste. Or the chocolate, Sarah may say, it was a bit sweet for my taste. I don't think she'll ever say that. That's her favorite. So that is the definition of taste. Now, if you think about it, this definition of taste has immediately put our meaning of taste into a very small silo. And so we have accepted that this is the meaning of taste in our life, and we use it inside of that limited point of view. And as we shared in webinar 1, if you consider that everything in this world, including definitions and meanings, were created by people that were no smarter than us. And when you get that, you can interrupt that, you can dent that, and you can mold that, and you can make a difference in this world, as Steve Jobs says. So let's rediscover what taste is. Let's discover it differently. And now I want to imagine you're all little babies like Kanea. The only thing he's tasted is milk, and he's going to start forming his relationships with various foods as he starts introducing other food types to him. So let's look at taste in this way. So Neil, if we start off with you, what have you got? What's the food that you've got, the snack?
Well, we actually didn't read your notes, but we managed to find some smoky bacon crisps.
All right. Okay. So you got smoky bacon crisps. Perfect. So I've switched on my camera. Mine is this little Lindt chocolate. It's a dark Lindt, and so let's see. Let's get started. So first thing I want you to tell me is if you look at your crisps there, can you tell me what temperature it is? To give you an indication of temperatures of food, freezing is something that is 0 degrees, which is freezing. Room temperature is about 21, 22 degrees. Hot is about 35 to 40 degrees, and piping hot, which means steaming, is about 65 degrees. So what is it that you're holding? What temperature is it?
I would say room temperature.
Yeah, room temperature. So right now, the crisp that you're holding, there's a relationship you have with it, a temperature-based relationship called room temperature. Let me hear from a couple others. Bonnie, what have you got, and what's the temperature?
I've got Toblerone, and I would say it feels slightly cool.
Yeah. So between freezing and room temperature?
Yeah.
Yeah. So give me a number.
Okay. Did you say body temperature is 36?
Room temperature is 22, and hot 22. Is about.
I'd say it's about maybe 16.
Yeah, 16. Okay. All right. Excellent. So let's go back to Neil. All right. So Neil, A of taste, the anagram taste, is association. So Neil, what do those crisps remind you of?
Well, I'm vegetarian, stroke occasionally vegan, and these remind me of bacon sarnie.
Awesome. What do they? So they invite you. They remind you of another food. Uh,
Yeah.
do they remind you of any time, any event?
Yeah, well, I suppose a big chunks of my life,
Yeah.
certainly teenage years and early 20s, bacon sarnie, especially after a night out, was considered comfort food. It was nice. It was, yeah, I'd say that was the association, is the comfort of it.
All right. Awesome. So it was after a night out. It was what you ate after a big night, and it's comforting. Now I want each of you guys to write down with your food. You have your food, write the label of the food on the top. So crisps or Toblerone or whatever it is that you have, and below that write the temperature, write the association. Which other places do you have crisps? Give me a location.
What hidden around the house, or
No, like which sort of location?
At the pub.
Would you?
At the pub.
yeah, I suppose pub.
Yeah.
I suppose when I used to drink, that's a good point actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I used to drink, I used to have a lot of peanuts and crisps and stuff like that.
Yeah, awesome.
And at school, I used to get given my dinner money, and I used to go and spend it on fags.
Yeah.
And so I kept a little bit by and spent that on chocolate and crisps. So that would have, because they were cheap foods.
Amazing. Now, each of those moments, they formed in your mind a host of neurological connections. So that food represents to you location, it represents to you event, it represents to you things like time of day, it represents to you what you were experiencing in that moment. In my case, I'm holding a Lindt chocolate. These balls, they remind me, let me just check that this door is closed. I'm in the room and Ambi's out there. This reminds me of an ex-girlfriend who I once gifted these Lindt chocolates. And honestly, every time she would be eating one, she would be texting me and telling me how amazing they are. And I would picture her eating it, and this was a long distance relationship. And I would have a very saucy image of her taking this ball in her mouth and licking it and eating it before she ate it. And so Lindt reminds me of that relationship and that person.
And this is recorded. Yeah?
Oh shit.
I'm gonna Ronnie Rich, I'm sending her the link as soon as we've done.
All right, okay, let's quickly move on. And so similarly, I had crisps that reminded me of things like cinemas or movies. And so however that movie was, if it was hilarious or a horror or whatever, it formed a relationship as well with the food, and my mind collapsed them. There's not on the webinars, but when we have our retreat, we talk about the 4 muscles of the mind, and one's called the collapser, and how it puts all these things together and merges them, and then our mind processes them as one. Okay, so the next one is, Neil, tell me about, S is for satiety, or how filling it feels in our mouth. Now, when I eat a spoon of rice that's mixed with some curry, I usually take a full spoon that creates my mouth to be very mouthful and fluffy. And so it feels like there's no more space in my mouth. It's almost 85% fills the gap inside my mouth when I'm eating something like that. When you're eating crisps, what percentage of your mouth do you think that fills?
I think when eating anything, really, I tend to try and fill it as much as I can, subconsciously.
Okay.
I'm always being told off for sticking too much in my mouth.
Okay, so in terms of empty, quarter full, very full, or a percentage, what comes to mind in terms of how fulfilling or fluffy it is in the mouth?
Well, I think I do. Now you're talking about it and getting me to analyse it. I think I'm looking at between 80 and 90%.
Awesome.
I think I do like to fill my mouth up.
Okay, amazing.
And can I just add, aside from the crisps,
yeah.
When I get stressed or I feel under pressure about things, sometimes I do eat comfort, because before it used to be drugs and drink, and I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I'd always like things like semolina, or rice pudding, or It's like that kind of almost like baby food.
Yeah.
And I'd always try and fill my mouth, which is weird. Yeah.
It's amazing you say that, because you see, the foundation of my teaching, of what we're doing here, has got roots in Ayurveda, which comes from Vedic teaching. And in Vedic teaching, our senses of our body are designed to perceive risk and alert us of something. But what we've done is we have, rather than use them to protect the body has now become a slave to the senses, because now the senses are pulling towards desire and want, right? And so when you say that about what used to have drugs and now you've replaced it with comfort eating, there's a quote I heard recently. Also, a coach was telling me, all vices are the same, right? So we may condemn somebody that is a druggie, right? We may condemn somebody that's a druggie, or that somebody that is a prostitute. We might judge that person, but we don't judge ourselves when we overindulge in pleasing the mouth with food, because we're in a society that's been created by people that are no smarter than us, and they have pegged all of those things on what's called a morality scale. But all vices are the same. And when we understand that all vices are the same, right, then we get empowered in our choices. As much as you choose to avoid drugs, you could choose to control your relationship to food. The difference only between the two is, one, they sit at different points on the societally set and accepted morality scale. And secondly, there is reason, justification, and story as to how cocaine has a negative health effect to you, whereas food may not, right? Right now, even though we're obese, the world isn't labeling that as, look at what you're doing to your health. Instead, they are endorsing and encouraging it. So if you get that we're just basically conformists, right, then you will, and that all vices are the same, you have power over why you avoid cocaine, and therefore why you're choosing to have food, if you know both of them are centrally driven. Okay, so just moving on now. Sorry, I want to hear from Sarah. So Sarah, what's your food? And tell us about the filling or fluffiness or satiety.
It's chocolate, but I've given up chocolate and I'm sticking to it, and two, I'm at the gym. I'm sat on a cycle machine.
So you're on a cycle machine, and in terms of the fillingness of it, how filling is it for you when you have chocolate? A bite of chocolate?
No, but it never. This is why I've given it up, because I can't have one. If I could have one bit of Toblerone and leave the rest, then I wouldn't have a problem. I'd just put it on my Fitness Pal app and be happy. But if I start the Toblerone, I have to finish it. So the easiest way to manage it is just to give it up for good.
Amazing. All right, awesome. Okay, so you have to now look at, when you're next having something, look at when you do bite into that, what percentage of your mouth you fill, and understand that.
Yeah, probably like 80%. I go for it.
All right, awesome. Okay, awesome. Good to know. All right, so the next.
Go hard or go home.
Go hard or go home. Interesting you say that. Then, Sarah, I will ask you to tell me which your favorite chocolate is.
I like it all. I don't discriminate.
Don't discriminate.
I like Toblerone.
Toblerone?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. We have Bonnie who has one there live. So we might ask Bonnie to do this one. So Bonnie, what I want you to do, my camera, if you guys can see, my camera is on, right? Can you all see? I'm sorry, I have some lighting behind, so the may not be the best. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
All right. Excellent.
You guys are killing me. Okay. My friend gave me a Toblerone for Easter and I didn't even open it.
All right. The next T is for texture. Okay. So what I want all of you guys to do, Bonnie, if you hold up your Toblerone, you hold up your crisps. Emma, I'm not sure what you have. Emma, what food do you have?
I've got strawberries.
Strawberry. All right. And Sarah, you're saying you don't have anything in hand right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm at the gym.
All right. So when you go home, you can do this exercise and send us a video of what it looks like. So I want you guys to take the food that you have, and we're not going to eat it now, but I want you to rub it along your cheeks here.
Oh God!
And give me an adjective of what that feels like, Bonnie.
It feels smooth, but well,
we can't see you right now, so we're trying to visualize. So you have something against your face, and it feels smooth.
yeah. So it's smooth, but it's I think with my body heat, it's starting to melt on my cheek.
It's getting a bit damp on your cheek. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's definitely melting in my fingers. So it's actually sticking to my. It actually feels like glue on my cheek.
Okay. All right. Now what I want you to do, and I'm going to give you a few seconds of this. I want you to put that in your mouth and then feel the texture. Then take it out without eating it, and tell us what that definition is. The adjective for that.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to bite a bit though because. Hang on. What do I have to do? Put it in my mouth and just feel the texture?
Yeah, like you can see I'm doing
it. It's become like a bit melty and sticky, and I guess glue is the. Not that I've ever eaten glue, people, but I guess that's how it feels in my mouth because it is sticking to the tongue.
Okay. So we've heard your definitions of what you're holding. Let's hear what Neil's holding. Neil, can you give us some adjectives of what you're holding? Bonnie, by the way, you can eat that now.
Thank you.
Well, obviously mine's a crisp.
Mm-hmm. so rub it on your skin and tell us adjective.
Well, it feels scratchy and greasy.
All right, that's awesome. And now put it in your mouth and give us a definition, an adjective of the texture.
It melts.
It melts. Okay, interesting. By the way, Yvonne, are you doing this as well? I hope you are.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why you just heard the packet open, Yvonne's packet.
All right, awesome. So, okay, so you've got that. So that is the texture. It was so funny is that the last time I think we did this, person had a banana. You can imagine how that exercise went. Pushing it against the tongue, and it was all kinds of stuff. It was really good. Okay, so that's texture. What does it feel like, right? So you have to remember what does it feel like, and you want to share that, and then we form a relationship with that feeling, right? Now the final one for this anagram is energy. So we've all consumed that, right? And a lot of us will make this what we call emotive decision or comfort decision or this momentary decision, right? That is influenced or driven by our senses getting hooked onto something. We latch onto it and we kill reason in that moment. When emotion is high, intelligence is low. Remember that. When emotion is high, intelligence is low. And we will put whatever in our mouth, or we will do anything that will please the senses. When that happens, a short while after, we will feel a certain way. So question for you guys to observe now. So we may not feel this right away, but Sarah, let's think of Sarah, because Sarah will gorge down a whole Toblerone, right? How do you feel, Sarah, 45 minutes or an hour after you've consumed that Toblerone?
Accomplished. Powerful. No.
Energy. I want you to tell me about your energy level.
Okay.
E is for energy.
Lethargic. And fat.
Yeah, but I want each of you guys to actually note your actual energy level of what it reminds you of. Because like when I have rice at lunch, I remember when we were at JP Morgan. So Sarah is a colleague of mine from JP Morgan. on Fridays we used to go to this place. I think it was called Chilangos or something. We used to go and get these long burritos, these amazing burritos, and obviously we'd go large for like an extra pound or something. And it's a massive one, and we'd down it and had loads of rice. And I think an hour and a half after that, I would just be dozing. My energy would be killed, and I'd keep getting up and having to get coffees or just walk to not fall asleep on my chair. But I'd love to hear from you. So Yvonne, how do you feel with what you're having when you had? Is it crisps? So Yvonne, just share what you're having. And
yeah, I've got crisps as well. Afterwards, yeah, like you, just feel sort of lethargic and yeah, no energy at all really. I noticed that, you know, not that I've eaten crisps for ages, but I know that if I've had carbs, then just really low energy levels. That's something that's really been hard to do in this challenge.
Awesome. So Emma, when are the next treat days coming for both? Do we have them? Both.
Next week is the interrupt week for February challenge.
Yeah.
And I'll have to double check for April challenge. It'll be 5 weeks in, right?
Yeah. So there are basically 2 more weeks for the April challenge. But yeah. On that,
I think April challenge will be like first week of May. But I'll double check it and I'll post on it.
Yeah. So in that treat weekend, that's a weekend where the plan is to burn 1,000 calories in a day. Ideally with one activity, but if not, you can do a few. But to burn 1,000 calories in a day, and you then can eat what you want. Ideally, don't have it right at the end of that calorie burn. Have it maybe 80% into that. So what we do is we usually do a trek. We used to do a trek, but now the treks don't always coincide with week 5 because we have multiple challenges. And the plan was we would walk 15 kilometers. So when we've done 15 kilometers, most of us have burnt 1,000 calories by then. And 15 kilometers in, about 13 kilometers in, we would stop at a pub. We would eat whatever we wanted to eat, and then walk another 2-3 kilometers to burn that or start burning that off. But the question is now, on your next treat day, eat what you want. You know, pick up that favorite food of yours. If you want, get it and keep it somewhere in the fridge or pantry or whatever it is, so long you know you won't have it till week 5 or week 10. And when you do have it, start to observe your body. Like I recently had something and I just crashed, and I thought it was just poor sleep because of the baby or whatever it was. But it was partly that, but it was also something I had that Ambi's mum made while they're here. And I thought, this is a different type of, it was chickpea flour, which is not that bad, but I think the amount I had just had me crash, and I immediately plummeted. I was literally feeling like I'm jet lagged. So, you know, and since then I'm just like avoiding that. So you guys want to take note of that. Take note of the next time that you have that. So other than that, other than T.A.S.T.E that we've covered here, there are many other experiences, moments, other relationships that are formed with food. What other ones can you guys think of?
I can.
Come, sorry, Emma.
Go on, go, Bonnie. You're fine.
No, I was just going to say, with my apple crumble and custard, I think that goes back to when I was a child, and my mum used to make homemade, and I remember the smell. So it's almost like I think I've locked in her love.
Yeah. Got it.
Equates to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that one's a Toblerone. I mean, I can give or take chocolate, but when I do have it, I'll probably eat half a roll of Toblerone and not think anything of it. But with the apple crumble and custard, I really do think that that's my association with the food is my mother's love.
Amazing. So that's also association, right? So association with a person or moments in life. Anyone else? What else contributes to what we call taste?
It's the smell of bacon that I love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we've been vegetarians for what, 15, 16 years?
16 years.
And if our neighbours are having a barbecue, we'll be still hanging out the back door smelling it. So I think it's the smell that also adds to the taste.
Sorry, you're going a bit faint, Yvonne. Could you just come a bit closer to the mic?
Sorry, I'm not sitting that close. Yeah, so the smell of the cooking of the bacon contributes. Although we've been vegetarian for 15 or 16 years, when bacon's cooking or meat's cooking, there's obviously still some trigger in my brain because my mouth waters.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you want to think as well that smell, they say, based on the taste definition of the dictionary, is 90% of taste. So 90% of taste is smell, which is really interesting. So in fact, there is a number of experiments done where if you were to block out the smell, block your nose, and eat certain foods, you'd find over a period of time you would start shifting your relationship to that food. It wouldn't be as it's always been. The rest, things like texture, the fullness in the mouth, the temperature, and so on, have much less of an effect to people who've lost sense of smell. Or if you block your nose and try and do that for a period every time you eat a particular food, your relationship to it will start shifting and start numbing down.
Because it's a bit like when you've got a cold, you lose your appetite, don't you? So
yeah, part of that also contributes to it. Other contributions or elements of taste are things like cost. Buy one get one free offers, other offers that are there, 10% off, whatever there is. Things like volume per penny. So we say, oh wow, like a liter, I can get this much, whereas a 250 milliliter packet of this coconut water is half the price. I might as well go for the liter, right? Because I'm getting 4 times more for that. So we don't realize this, but we've formed a relationship because when we consume that, if we are driven financially, a lot of entrepreneurs do this. Mark Nicholson isn't on this, but Mark, me and him randomly bumped into each other at an M&S, and he was walking out with a sandwich, or he walked into a place with a sandwich from M&S, and I walked in with salads from M&S, and he's like, "Oh shit, I didn't know you were here." And so, and I said, there's no guilt, that doesn't matter. But anyway, that evening was spent me eating my salad and filling myself, and he ate the insides of his sandwich and left the slices. But he's like, look, it says reduced, and it was only 70p, Ronnie. I just had to do it. And he's a millionaire, right? And so his relationship with food was wow, like that's a bargain, right? So it's really interesting. So now he's got a love for the sandwiches and more love for them. They taste better when they're unreduced. So that's how we form relationships. Things like time, the expiration date of certain stuff, we have a relationship of time. Things like experiences. So we have meals bundled with a boat ride or cruise along the Thames. Things like cinemas and popcorn. So popcorn is when we're suddenly watching a TV at home, you feel, let's go pop some popcorn, and vice versa. So we got to understand how basically these things are being packaged and presented to us. And the most amazing one is that video that Emma just shared about Easter. Like, what is the connection with chocolates? And what's so funny, I hear how, Bonnie, you're saying how it sounded like it was, oh my God, how am I going to survive these 4 days? How am I going to survive Easter? And I was like, wow, because I grew up in Zambia. And first of all, Zambia, we didn't get a lot of imported products. So chocolates are like this foreign luxurious thing. And when they did come, everybody binged on them big time when the markets opened and the economy picked in the mid-90s. But before then, we grew up where there was no association of Easter to chocolates at all. So, but we grew up in nursery drawing eggs and painting eggs and drawing bunnies, but chocolates never. And also Zambia is a very Christian nation. It's a formally declared a Christian nation. So Easter is very religious. It has nothing to do with chocolates. But lovely video that Emma shared. I think it was just amazing. I wish we made that video. And it's really awesome. I hope you all got to see the video Emma shared. That was by BBC Scotland. Just amazing video of a father and daughter, where the daughter's questioning, what has chocolates got to do with Jesus Christ? And really, really hilarious. So if you haven't watched it, Emma, please reshare it after this webinar as well for everyone to see. All right. So we're going to move on, and I just want to share with you again some of the other myths that we've adopted that limit us. Has anyone heard of the taste map?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you know about the taste map, Yvonne?
Well, pretty much what you're showing there on the screen, that different parts of the tongue taste differently.
Yeah. So
like when you go on.
Correct. Yeah. So there's a theory that the different parts of our tongue are responsible for taste, and this is a theory that was presented and lived and adopted for many decades and generations, and everyone would believe this. And I remember learning about this in the 80s or 90s, and I thought, because we're kids and we used to compete about who could eat the hottest stuff, I learned about this, and apparently the hot foods are also at the tip of our tongue, and I think to the sides, and if there's some savory or salt to them. And what I used to do is take the chili and put it at the back of my tongue, thinking I won't taste it, and suddenly I'd end up with hiccups, and I'm sweating and everything because it's obviously hammered me. And what's now, it's amazing how we just adopt stuff that we're presented with. Recent research has actually debunked the whole taste map myth, that this theory has been disproved now multiple times, but it just gives another indication of how much what we know of taste, or how we taste things, or how we sample, even tasting wine. We go for wine tasting classes. All of these are us adopting limiting points of views, and our transformation is going to come from peeling these away. I did a little write-up yesterday around transformation. Transformation is not adding more to us. The adding more to us, took us away from our authentic self. And what we're trying to do on this program is really get our power by peeling off all those layers that we've adopted along the way. So that's about taste. We unfortunately didn't design an exercise around pain because of safety and insurance purposes. I would like you guys to pull out an electric cable there and put it in your tongue. But let's look at what pain is, and very quickly going to touch on some of the stuff here. So what I learned is last year I totally defied the ceiling I had around how far I could run, or how I could run uphill or whatever. And I did man versus mountain. And on that mountain, I really said, I'm going to shift my relationship to pain. So when I start feeling pain in my shins or tightening off the chest, I'm not listening. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. And I would keep going. But then I got introduced as well to a very new concept of energy and pain management, which was, I used to, when pain started, then I would take a painkiller, or when I was tired, I would take energy gels, which is a very reactive way of doing an endurance sport. And I did it with 3 PTs, and they all have different schools of thought. Or 2 PTs, another guy was just a fit guy. And this guy introduced me to the concept of starting the run, man versus mountain. So this was a 22-mile race up Mount Snowdon, and it was a day where just when it started raining, pissing, and very cold. And we basically ran in the rain to the summit of Mount Snowdon. I think we're short of the top on that day for health and safety. They didn't let us reach the final top. But I'd never run 20 miles on flat ground. I never run 20 kilometers. I did only 20 kilometers as part of the training, but I never did beyond that in my life. On that day, I went over 34 it came to. But what they introduced me to was that we don't take painkillers after the pain. We start off with them. So before the race has even begun, we're all popping ibuprofens. And that's basically to minimize inflammation before it starts. And if you understand the science of how painkillers work, then you can control them, maybe without medication, if you can get your mind to a particular state. I'll talk about that. So what is pain? Pain is highly unpleasant physical sensation caused by illness or injury, right? So that's the definition. Now, how is pain communicated? How do we feel pain? At the end of our fingers and our skin and so on, we have sensory receptors in our skin. And what they do is they communicate what they're feeling. There's an interpretation of what they feel. I'm going to put this on camera so you can see, right? So we're feeling something here. That feeling is either smooth or rough or whatever that is. This is feeling cold, and it's communicating something through my fingers to my mind. And it does that through our skin, through our nerve fibers, through our nervous system, and into our brain. So there's a time difference for that to get to and communicate what we're feeling in terms of sensation, texture, pain, and all that is what we're feeling. So if that's how pain is communicated, knowing that, the pharma guys or or the people that are biohacking our bodies created painkillers to say, what we can do is we can interrupt that messaging system, right? So what they do was they either create something that will minimize the feeling of the sensation here, or they create something on the brain that blocks the interpretation of that pain. So if you think about it, the pain is not going, the pain is still there, or the experience of the shift of our cells in our body, either opening or tearing or ripping or whatever's happening to them, that still happens. But it's the interpretation going to the mind that has been altered by some chemical being induced in us called painkillers. So how do they work? So painkilling drugs, they interfere with these messages, either the site of the injury or in the spinal cord or in the brain itself. So things like paracetamol and ibuprofen and codeine, they work in different ways, right? So paracetamol is one of the biggest. It's in our lemsips are full of predominantly paracetamol, and then they've just got 2 other funky ingredients. And they reduce pain and fever, but they don't reduce inflammation, so they don't reduce swelling. That's what ibuprofen does. The downside of that is it causes damage to our stomach, like ulcers, and it causes a whole host of other heart disease or stroke. And ibuprofen also for people that are pregnant, breastfeeding, some other heart conditions, we have to avoid them. Codeine works on this side, right? It works on the pain receptors in the brain, so it doesn't allow the signal to come through. And I experienced this firsthand, and not in a good way. I was there with Ambi giving birth, and she was in labor for 52 hours. And I think 3 or 4 hours in, she had decided she's going for C-section. But knowing this and knowing this coaching that we've gone through, I'm continually coaching her to rewire and reinterpret the pain that she's getting, which is called labor pains. And when we call the hospital, it's amazing how our body thinks, I can't take it anymore, call the hospital, we're going in. But when you call the hospital, they're asking you how many contractions per 10 minutes. And you tell them, and they say, no, we need 3 contractions within 10 minutes or 4 contractions within 10 minutes. If not, don't come in. So immediately in that moment, psychologically, she's been told that it's not severe enough, it's not serious enough, and suddenly the experience of labor reduced. It wasn't as bad. And we lasted another 24 hours till we had to again call the hospital. Eventually, it was 48 hours later we were in, and 52 hours later we had the baby, right? But it's amazing how the mind just changed the meaning from what a midwife on the other end told us versus our own interpretation. And through the process, I could keep coaching her, but she wanted to do C-section because she couldn't take the pain. And I was able to say that we can tolerate it. And we climbed Kilimanjaro in 2014. And when we did, day 3 was like the hardest day. And whenever we have a hard moment in life, I say to Ambi, this is just day 3 of Kilimanjaro. This is just day 3 of Kilimanjaro. On that day, we had basically grown adults crying all over the place, snot, tears, everything all over the place. It was raining on us. It was windy. Everyone just wanted their mummy, and everybody wanted to go down. And I'm talking of adults, big adults. And we keep saying, Ambi's just day 3. We're going to get to the next base. We're going to get to the next base. We can't stop here and we can't turn back. So we just got to keep going. And that's how we rewired Ambi's interpretation through labor. And she was able to sustain those the contractions right through. So having said that, and we are at time actually, taste and pain all made up perceptions. You've got to get that. We've been so conditioned. We've been so conditioned till the moment you discover the FITBANKER challenge. We've simply been conditioned to react to them and then interpret them in a certain way. Oh my God, this means that. I'm sure I've got to stop now. I've got to stop before I break a leg like I saw it on TV on that program. Or I don't break my back like I saw that guy doing motocross and he landed the wrong way and broke his back and paralyzed for life. And whatever. We've created these interpretations and they are ruling us. They are running the show. And knowing that, we have the power to rewrite their meaning. So if you now know that next time you're on a run or next time you're tasting something, you could make a celery stick. And it might take some hard work depending on how much you love Toblerone, but you could make a celery stick Toblerone. Or when you're having pain, you could make that mean pins and needles, right? Rather than I can see blood coming out of my shins, but that's just a tickle. whatever that is, right? So ultimately, I want us to get that beyond our body, right? When we say this is about body, mind, and intellect, beyond our body is a mind that's making all these interpretations. And if we can master that, we know that all these were already made up by the mind. We can rewire that. We can rewrite their meaning. And this applies to a host of adversities and temptations. Taste signifies temptation, and pain just signifies challenges and adversities. So if we understand that, we can really rewrite all moments in life, including our entrepreneurial journey, our relationships, our health, our careers, our periods of unemployment, whatever it may be. All right, guys, so I'm going to leave you there. And assignments now, I want you guys, and please do a video. This will be really awesome. And don't rehearse the video. You've got to do it live. So you can go live on the Facebook page and find one of your previous yuckiest foods. It might be, I don't know, something that you find yucky, like prunes or beetroot, or there's a Indian food called Karela, which is like the most bitter thing. It's called something bitter. I don't know the English name. I can't remember. But it is basically tastes like shit. As a kid, my mom used to pay us to eat it. In fact, that was my first pocket money I ever earned. It's really the yuckiest food ever. And I invite you guys to share a video of you eating it and with a new meaning. There are things that we ate when we were 7, and I promise you've never touched them since you were 7. If something comes to mind that I once tried that and I'm like never touching that again. It might be jackfruit, or it might be there's another Vietnamese fruit I found out that stinks. They don't allow it in certain hotels. But if you can find what you had decided at some point in life was the yuckiest food, I want you to share a video of you eating it, rediscover it, and you write the story of what it means. You might vomit on the video, but you can write the story. So the next one is pain. Pain is often what stops us from our personal best. When we self-sabotage, when we're up to something great, like we're about to beat our 5K record, or we're doing this challenge, and when things are going hard, we just stop because you can't tolerate, oh, Ronnie, your webinars are so boring, I don't listen to you. Whatever shows up to you as pain, right? Or, oh, Ronnie, I can't do my fitness pal, it does my flipping head in. Consider that's just pain, right? And you will self-sabotage to avoid pain. So my invite to you is, if you know that pain is made up, this weekend I want you to go and take one of your fitness measures. It could be a 5K run, a 10K run. It could be a bench press, what's called a 10 rep max. So what weight can you push for 10 reps maximum? It could be a 10 rep max for a squat. Whatever it is, I'm inviting you guys to go for your personal best. So push beyond the first indication of pain or the first few. As mentioned, day 30 is coming for you guys. Day 60 is passed for, webinar 7. So it's actually passed for you guys. And we just got, is day 60 tomorrow, Emma? Sorry.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. So day 60 is
tomorrow. February day 60 is tomorrow, and then February challenge interrupt week is next weekend. So not this weekend, come in next weekend, the weekend after, sorry.
Yeah.
And April 30 is May the 2nd, and then the same week is the interrupt weekend. So I think it's about the 5th or the 6th.
Okay, awesome. So anyway, day 30 and day 60 are coming for the 2 respective challenges. We've launched the May challenge is starting on May 15th. Now we have a mega early bird package, which is $209. Some of you got that because we offer them sometimes only at exhibitions, but we don't offer that online. We're offering that online now only for a week or for the first 10 packs. We've had a number of people sign up. For that, we have an info webinar this Saturday, right? If you know there's someone in your life that can benefit from this, please invite them to this Saturday's webinar. Emma, is it 9 a.m. on Saturday?
It is 9 a.m. on Saturday.
Yeah, so if you could share that event on campus so people can click join, then from there they can click invite, and you can invite somebody, one of your friends, to it. They could find out about this program. That's this Saturday, 9 a.m., or you can just invite them to go to the website and join the challenge if you want to have a conversation directly with them and they don't need to join a webinar. But
it's on campus already, yeah.
All right, excellent. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and also the last thing is the supper club on Friday. So to celebrate January challenge finishing, and also as a social, you know, so that you can get to know other fit bankers and invite family, friends, and neighbours. It's this Friday at 7 p.m. Where is it, Ronnie? Again, I can't remember.
I think it's Oaxaca, and
that's right.
I was asking you to see if we can change it to Pharmacy. Pharmacy is a lovely, healthy restaurant in North London. Unfortunately, they don't take reservations, but if you guys are coming, once we know numbers, we will be able to know whether we can go there. So they're not too far a move for us to make, and they're both generally central London. But if any of you guys are coming, please confirm on the event. And I'm sure you guys have also seen we have launched Climb Kili, and we had a webinar for that last weekend. We're doing Climb Kilimanjaro. It's going to be an epic leadership summit like no other. It's 8 days. It's a 7-day climb, and it's all about leadership. We have, depending on the numbers, if we have more than 20 people climbing, there's already a number of people signed up, about 6 or 7, and we have another 7 that are sorting out either finances or dates. It's just going to be epic. It is one of the most beautiful things we've done in our life. So if anybody's interested in that, message us, have a look at our page. We've put a webinar on that, and we'll be having a number of info sessions and webinars around that. We had 22 people the last time we did this in 2014, and it is by far one of the most amazing things any human being can do. It's a treat for you for life. So if anyone's interested in that, please reach out to us. It is just amazing. All right, guys, I'm going to end there because we're past our time. And thanks all for being on, and those listening in on the recording, thank you for being on. Please do take on the assignments. We look forward to your videos. Bye, guys.
Cheers, Ronnie. See you later, everyone.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
See ya. Bye.